It gives me great pleasure today to introduce to you Frank Gonzalez, who's actually the coordinator for the Non-Credit Culinary Arts program. Frank?
Hi, good morning.
Thank you for being here. Who do we have today? Who is our special guest?
Our special guest today is Chef Magdy El-Zuheri. Chef Magdy is actually originally from Alexandria, Egypt, and is a graduate of KCC's Culinary Arts program. And he teaches the Middle Eastern and Mediterranean cuisines for our non-credit program.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Chef Magdy, what dish will you be preparing for us today?
I'm going to be preparing a dish from Morocco today, which is fish tagine.
Okay, wonderful. Now, fish tagine happens to be a very popular dish here in Hawaii, and a lot of people would like to know, where does the name come from?
Actually, the name comes from the pot that we use to make that dish, which we call in North Africa, especially in Morocco, tagine.
And we have a beautiful example of it right here.
Yes.
Okay, so what we're actually going to do is, before we actually get started, there's an important sauce that actually we need to make before we can actually start this actual tagine.
Yes, that's correct. The sharmoula sauce is the sauce that we use for that particular dish. And the sharmoula sauce actually is a blend of coriander, cumin, parsley, American parsley, and garlic, salt, paprika, olive oil, lemon juice, and red pepper flakes.
Okay, so we have all the ingredients laid out here. What we actually did earlier is we actually went ahead and actually mixed this in a food processor until we achieve this wonderful paste that you see here. Now, can this be made ahead of time?
Yes, actually you can make that ahead of time and you can keep it in your refrigerator for 4 weeks or so.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. So it has a very good shelf life.
Yes.
Now, because we're using dry spices, do you recommend us letting it sit and age a little while for the flavors to come out of the spices, or would you like us to be able to use it right away after mixing it?
No, you can let it sit and rest for a while so all the flavor comes out from the special spices that we use in that particular sauce.
Okay, wonderful. Let's go ahead and start cooking our tagine here.
Okay, so
we remove our lid.
Yes.
Okay, now the fish that we're using here today is going to be our local island caught kajiki, which is our marlin. We're going to go ahead and lightly salt the fish here. We've turned on the stove. We're going to just add a little olive oil to the bottom of the tagine here.
I'm just gonna take that fish and lay it down here.
Okay, so we're not even waiting for it to get hot. We're just gonna add it straight in.
I'm just gonna add it straight in.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go ahead and mix all my vegetables that I prepared before the show.
Okay.
Which is red and green bell pepper.
Okay.
Kalamata olive.
Now, are these olives native to the region?
Yes, it's a Mediterranean. So
wonderful.
It's, yeah.
Now, for those of us who may not be able to find Kalamata in a regular grocery store, do you have a suggestion as to where we can find them? In the specialty markets that you frequent for your Kalamata olives?
You can get it from like Whole Foods or some other places they carry it. Like sometimes Foodland they carry Kalamata olives.
Okay.
But you can find it here in Hawaii.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. So I'm adding my tomatoes, which is the last thing to the dish. And then I'm gonna go ahead and mix that.
Okay, so
before I add my sharmoula sauce.
Okay, so while you actually go ahead and mix that, Frank, besides Chef Magdy El-Zuheri here, what other chefs do you have in your program?
Well, we've got quite a variety of chefs that work in our program. We have chefs both from KCC, some of our chef instructors who teach for us. For example, yourself, you handle many different types of varieties, specializing mainly in Asian cuisines as well as local cuisines and basic skills. Chef Magdy, of course, does Mediterranean, Greek, Middle Eastern foods. We have Chef Kevin Tate, who does Southern foods, barbecue, Creole and Cajun. Chef Carol, who will be on later, who handles gluten-free foods, home entertaining, catering type of event food. And we also have Mexican. We have
a full spectrum
of
chefs with all different types of classes.
Yes.
Okay, so Chef Magdy, what have we done here?
Okay, I just mix all my vegetables and tomatoes and olives and lemons with the fish. And then I add my sharmoula sauce.
Yes.
And then the final thing, I add my chicken stock, which I have in here.
So if anyone does not have chicken stock, could they substitute with possibly a fish stock or water or any liquid?
They actually can substitute with the water,
Okay.
or they can use a chicken stock.
Chicken stock would
So
be fine
either
for
one,
this dish.
if they don't have the fish stock.
Okay.
So
Actually, so when we're actually going to be finishing the dish, we are going to remove it from the stove, place the lid on it, and then actually place it in
in
our
the oven, yes. So I preheated the oven for 400,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna just put the lid on top.
Okay, so what we're going to
My
do off
tagine.
camera is we're actually going to go ahead and place it in the oven.
Yes.
And then usually about how long should we bake it in the oven
It
for?
doesn't take long. It takes like about 10 minutes or so.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any other recommendations as for other fish you'd like to see this dish made from?
We can use opa. Opa is good to use with this particular dish.
Okay. Do you like a tender soft fish or one that's a little more hardy, a little firm?
I like the softy fish, buttery
Buttery?
taste. Yeah, it goes very well with that dish.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So our guests at home, what we're going to do here is we've actually got our tagine lid on. We're actually going to go ahead and finish it off in the oven. So please stay tuned and come back and see us again on What's Cooking Hawaii.
Tanioka's Seafoods and Catering would like to send a warm aloha and a big mahalo to all of their faithful customers, employees, family, and friends. Thanks to each of you for making Tanioka
Help with meals and transportation. Enter today at 76hawaii.com.
Welcome back to
Is rice. If you don't have couscous,
Just for you, Hawaii Gas, the clean energy company, and these fine restaurants, proud supporters of the Kapi'olani Community College Culinary Institute of the Pacific.
Welcome back to What's Cooking Hawaii. We're here at our favorite segment of the show, Chef Magdy. Beautiful tagine.
Thank you so
Now,
much.
this is actually the finished product here.
Yes. This
Well,
is after we bake it.
After it's baked in the oven.
Yes.
What would be your recommendations for a side dish to serve with this? Or traditionally, is it served with any side dishes?
Traditionally, it's served with couscous.
With couscous?
Yeah, but we can have it here in Hawaii with rice if you don't have couscous, or you can have it with bread.
Bread.
Yeah, French bread, baguette. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
If you could smell the aroma coming out of this pot, amazing. Chef Carol, thank you again. We start off with your cupcakes. I noticed that I can really see the topping that you placed on there before we baked it, and that topping again was made from some sugar and some lemon zest.
That's all it was.
Wonderful. And then we also have the finished product of your ginger snap cookies here.
Yes.
I noticed that we have two different shapes there. Can you tell us about the two different shapes?
Yes, I mentioned that I prefer to flatten the cookies. I scoop, dip it in the sugar, and then I put it on the tray, and then I take a piece of parchment paper
And flatten it out.
and flatten it with another tray. So that's what makes them be flat. But these ones I did not flatten, so they tend to be a little bit more thick, a little bit more crunchy on the outside, but they take longer to bake.
Okay, so if we simply scoop them onto our baking pan with our parchment paper, well, we actually just scoop them, and they're actually going to end up being thicker, but they'll take a longer time to bake.
Yes.
And those that we actually flatten cook faster, and of course will be a little more crispy.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. Beautiful dishes here. Frank Gonzalez.
Yes.
For those in our viewing audience here who would like to enroll in these classes or find out more information about our non-credit culinary program, where would they go or how would they find out the information?
Well, we always have our latest schedule on the website at continuinged.kcc.hawaii.edu, or you can always send me an email directly. I'm perfectly fine with that. You want to send me an email, frankg@hawaii.edu.
Wonderful. Now, do these classes run year-round, or are they breaks, or do they run during only the semesters when school is in session?
Well, we follow the semester program just like the regular credit program. So typically we'll follow the winter break, we'll have our spring schedule, we'll break another couple of weeks, go through summer, and then break a couple of weeks and go through fall.
Wonderful. For our guests at home who may not have experienced our classes before, Anything special? Do they need to bring their own knives? Do they need to bring anything? Is there special attire that's required for these classes?
Actually, we do provide everything for the students. We provide them with all the equipment, the food, the aprons, towels, etc., and even takeout containers.
Wonderful. So they not only do they get to cook the food, but they also get to take it home with them.
Yes, absolutely. We always do 3 or 4 recipes, all hands-on, and
you.
then you take home
Wonderful.
whatever you make.
Wonderful. Again, I'd like to thank our special guests on the show today. I especially like to thank our sponsors, Waihata, Hawaii Gas, as well as Ham, Produce, and Seafood. Until next time, we'd like to thank you for joining in, and please join us again for another episode of What's Cooking Hawaii.
Hey, it's